Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well. Welcome back to Question Time Live, episode 99. That's the one. Christ, episode 100 next week. Cannot believe it. I think it would only be fitting that I come up with something a bit special for next week's episode. So stay tuned for that one. But in the meantime, apologies about last week. The Koi Wholesale open day that we had for the dealers was absolutely mad. I completely underestimated what time we were going to get done. And by the end of it was completely shot as well. So unfortunately I had to cancel on that one, but back this week and looking forward to getting stuck into some of your questions. Had a fantastic day planning some of the new video content with Aaron, a videographer. So we're taking a slightly different approach to how we're actually creating some of this stuff in order to get the end result that I'm wanting. So I look forward to getting stuck into that as well. We've had a nice prolonged period of decent weather now as well. So hopefully that's helping you all out, especially those who are unheated. It has been a decent prolonged period and some better evening temperatures as well. Although I have noticed a big change in the daylight hours at both ends as well, believe it or not, especially the morning ones. Them I do notice it's about 5:30 now and that sun's coming up, opposed to the 4:30 that it was waking me up most mornings. Madness. But there we go. Make the most of it while it is warmer. And like I say, I hope the problems are easing off. So feel free, guys, to start firing in some questions. I'm hoping we might have a guest joining us towards the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of the show. A familiar face, to say the least. The NND, some news on the NND Mud Pond event as well, which I'm looking forward to sharing. Other than that, like I say, we're approaching episode 100 of Question Time Live. Can you believe it? Over 100 hours of me waffling on about koi, and no doubt still plenty more to come as well. It has been fantastic looking back. So much information just sat there for everybody to take advantage of. And the YouTube channel itself. So that is something I've got to ask you guys. We are very fast approaching 7,000 subscribers now. So anybody watching this, if you aren't already subscribed, it'll take you a few seconds just to hit the thumbs up. And it really does help just grow the channel and get out to all the people that we want to reach and spread the good word of koi keeping. So please, if you're not subscribed already over on YouTube, hit that sub button and help us get over the line. And then on to the next one. It's actually crazy the rate we've gone from the just hitting 6K and now on to 7. It's growing at some pace at the minute, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's see who we've got in this evening. I'm just going to fire a few of you up on the screen. But nice to see lots of returning names and a few often miss the lives in this evening as well. Andrew, I am referring to you, mate. I know you always try your best. There we go. Good evening, Marcus. How you doing, mate? I love watching all the updates you're sticking on Facebook at the minute. If you go on Pom Pal, seems to be doing well, following the Koi Wholesale way. That's it seems to be working well anyway. I've got a question there straight away. Let's might as well jump straight into that one then, I suppose. Let's have a look. Tom Newton, good evening. Hi, Ricky. After listening to a podcast of yours, I've decided to build a small pond of 450 gallons to raise Chibis in. Do you have any more advice for how to set up and lines of koi that will be good? I guess that's meant to say. Tom, I mean, the system itself doesn't need to be anything too complex because this is not going to be built for pushing too much food or anything like that. So, to be honest, 450 gallons, I'd probably run that off of a gravity-fed easy pod if that's possible. It'd be absolutely more than enough, I can promise you that. And it's more about the characteristics of the fish. And this can be a bit harder because these fish often identify themselves in batches. So when I've got a batch of fish, we can often see one that might look like it's got all the bone structure elements and everything it needs. It's just not growing at the same pace as the others. That can be harder to identify in a tank of everything at the same size that haven't really started growing. But often you can see just smaller characteristics in some fish, but high levels of quality that you can bring on. But in a nutshell, you can raise any kind of fish in that bonsai style. It's often the ones, if you can see they've got real big characteristics, that's probably the one to avoid, because they're just gonna want to go regardless. But just real focus on quality. You know, in this case, you're almost taking the body element out of it. What you don't want is a small kind of too rounded body line on any of the fish, because that's going to be a problem. Male's actually far better than female, but if you're buying them small, that's going to be harder to get to grips with and understand. But yeah, other than that, you focus more on the quality, the skin quality and the pattern, as opposed to the body, because you're not trying to do anything too flashy with the body. It's all about focusing on quality in this case, which is nice. You know, it allows that to be and focus on them aspects more. And like I say, system wise, you just don't need to be a lot. The feeding levels are never going to be crazy. The one thing I would say is temperature control, as with any pond, really is going to be paramount for you. So some form of heating, but at that level of water, you can probably do that with a couple of aquarium heaters, to be honest. And you don't want to be too warm either when you're doing it. Ideally, if you're in that 18 is going to be the real sweet spot for you, because you're going to keep these things looking superb at the same time. If it gets warmer naturally, then so be it. But keeping them around that's going to be a cracking temperature. 18 to 22, anywhere in that range will be good. Ideally, to be honest, trying to cool it down is the bigger thing here. I know we're all obsessed with trying to warm it up, but if you can keep it around that 18, you're going to control the growth as well, so they're not racing on too quickly and then stretching out. Then you've got to feed more food in order to recover that body back. So I hope you find that useful, Tom. Amazing to know that we've inspired you with that one, mate, and best of luck. Oh, there we go. There's a nice question to follow that on, Phil. Hi, Ricky. I have a question regarding Chibis. I heard people say they are the runts. Is this true? No, that's not true whatsoever. More often than not, it's just the way the fish have been kept. So it might have been the year before, actually, I brought some Tosai Shirotsauri in from Okawa that came in around April time. And I had them sat in a 400-gallon tank through till September, very heavily stocked. Got to September. I mean, at that point, they were technically Chibi Nisai. I started growing them again. They reached 40 to 45 centimeter Nisai by the following spring. It was in line with everything else. More often than not, this is because a breeder has a surplus of fish. Coda, for example, has a surplus of tatigoi that go to be raised to normal size Nisai. Because he doesn't have enough ponds, he raises them in a small Nisai manner. At that point with them fish, you can take them and absolutely fly with it from there, and those fish will catch up. The only thing this kind of runt scenario comes into is if you've got fish that are kind of hitting 3 years old and they've not really got the big growth at that point. And by this, I mean they're still kind of 20, 30, 35 cm, around them kind of size brackets at 3 years old. You're going to struggle at that point. You will still get some growth, but what you might find is the bone structure becomes a little bit more set. And at that point, rather than get the length, they're likely going to bulk out more. So, but even at that, that is still dependent on the fish, the bloodline, all the rest of it. Would you take a very small 3-year-old fish and take it through to a 90 cm fish if that potential was there in the first place? Probably not. You're going to have lost some of them years. Like I said, but overall, no, they're not the runts of the litter. The runts are often rejected far, far earlier than this in earlier selections. So it is literally the way the breeders, or in my case, I've kept them. And like I say, it can all be corrected just through growing them fish over winter through to the following year. I have warned in the past, just like with tatigoi and words like that, that, you know, all these kind of sales words, gimmicks, all the rest of it are worth ignoring. They should just be called Nisai realistically, and you shouldn't read too much into the size of a Nisai. It's just more understanding the journey of the fish. Something else I've actually been writing in an article today is kind of exactly this. You know, even on the jumbo end of it, the jumbo Tosai and the big Nisai, those fish are still ultimately governed by the genetic potential that they have that's passed on from the parents. If they come from a parent fish that's 75 cm and there's a history in that lineage of fish around them sizes as well, we can never, it doesn't matter how quickly that fish gets there, the likelihood of it surpassing that 70, 75 cm mark, unless it's one of the freaks out of the batch, is very, very rare. It's a limiting factor. I've seen this with NND Showa. This is the I think they're on a new generation again now. So the previous one where I've had quite a lot of fish, they've got to 4 years of age. They've hit 75 cm at 5 years. The growth has just dropped off a cliff. Very few of them fish they've hit 80 and then struggled to go really beyond it. That's just genetical, and that's all to do with the parent fish that are in that lineage. A lot of those parent fish are Dainichi fish, but the size of those fish, individual ones, is the most important factor at that point because they're direct descendants of that. The odd fish that kind of jumps beyond it and grows bigger and further than that is possibly where the Dainichi heritage has skipped a couple of generations in that one. But yeah. No, just to finalise that, they're not the runts, and just be careful with all these terms that get applied to stuff. Knowing the kind of history of the fish is far more important. Great. Here's Chris the guest. You'll have to wait and see. But is he busy raiding my fish houses? Absolutely not. This time of night, he'd be shot on sight. Lewis, good evening, mate. Sorry, just coming back to Tom there. Good for this. This is an addition to my main pond, but just want nice, busy, small vat just for the spectacle. You're selling pot. Exactly. And honestly, I think you'll really find you'll get a lot of enjoyment from it, Tom, as well. So, like I say, best of luck. Beacon Koi, good evening. Hope you're well, buddy. I've listened to all the videos multiple times. Fair enough, right? That's some commitment, that is. That's some hours of listening. Simon, evening all. How you doing? Last made one. Yes, Andrew. Well done, mate. Appreciate the commitment there. Good evening, everybody. Terence Gander, evening. Right, Perrin, good evening. Evening, Ricky. Got to the bottom of my issues. Virus and Kostya as secondary. Looking to be starting again into next year. Wow, 75% of the collection wiped out. Suspect issue from an Israeli koi I've had for 12 years. Sorry to hear that, Perrin. I hope just whatever you've done, you've got everything diagnosed properly with that one. But yeah, awful when shit like that happens. It really is. But hopefully we don't lose you in the hobby. And yeah, sorry to hear it, mate. Really am. Good evening, Ricky and all. So many people in tonight. Cascas Reef and Pond. Evening, everybody. Right, here we go. Simon. Hi, Ricky. I've got a question. I'm unheated and I got a fish that's got like carp pox cauliflower on his mouth. Not sure if it's still. Yeah, so Simon, that probably more than likely is carp pox. If you've had the fluctuating temperatures like we've had prior to this spell, we've been in a temperature range where it's more, you get the increase and the drop off. That's likely to be the trigger for carp pox. In that scenario, a little bit of stress if it's a carrier or something like that. Just make sure, obviously, there's no infection around it, and it definitely is carp pox, and then not a tumor as well. But if it's a tumor, it's likely to be a bit bigger in size. Carp pox doesn't get particularly big, although it is unsightly. Abby, good evening, mate. How's things up in sunny Scotland? Tom, back on the pond there. I was hoping to run a pressure filter for the mechanical and a fluid bed. I know you said you could keep it busy. What sort of kind of stocking levels do you think would be reasonable? So to give you an example, and why I say a gravity-fed easy pod, I once run, it's a pond I've actually knocked down now. You might have seen on some of the Nisky Go Journal videos that I do. This pond that I knocked down was a 1,200-gallon pond that run off a gravity-fed easy pod, and we're talking about how you're going to be running it here, so not crazily fed. But I used to crazily stock that held Nisai, would often have over 100 fish in it holding, being fed modestly, which would still be quite a lot of food. And honestly, that pond ran an absolute dream. I just don't think you need to overcomplicate it, Tom. To be honest, you're going to be absolutely fine with that level of capacity, because honestly it's just really not. Food is just going in there just to keep them ticking over, looking good. You want to be more as well, probably a little bit more aggressive on the color food in them for a little while, really get them colors popping and just have them looking superb. If you feel like you want to and go for more, then fair enough, pressure filter and fluid bed will be absolutely fine. But honestly, I think you'd find just that pod with your UV, an air pump will be absolutely more than sufficient. Lee, good evening. Evening, Ricky. Is there many cases of breeders having their stock stolen, or are they just bear attacks? Oh my God, yeah. I mean, if we're on about talking, obviously theft by humans, no, never really heard of that happening. And all the time I've been out there. However, yes, being stolen by bears and other predators, my God. But with the bears, it's not just, predator attacks of taking fish, it's the damage they can do to automatic feeders. In one case with one breeder 1 year, I had a serious amount of azakari losses, fish I had growing there, because a feeder had knocked one of the giant fish feeders into the pond. All the food had got out and just completely pickled the water. Stripped the oxygen. I mean, it was an absolute mess. So stuff like that, natural disasters are happening all the time. But actually, human theft is just not something we really see in Japan at all, to be honest with you. This is the kind of place where when we're there in winter, you've got your heating on, whatever it is, you pull up to a service station, get out your car, leave everything running, unlocked, cameras on your seats, laptops. When they come back, everything's going to be there. You absolutely don't doubt that for a second. Rory, good evening, mate. Is the main push of buying female koi that they continue to push on size at the upper sizes, just seeing when you raise fish and you can't tell which is female? Yeah, exactly, mate. I don't know what the big push is. I mean, ultimately, yes, at them top end sizes, year in, year out, there's a higher percentage of females hitting those super big sizes. The reality is, and this is what we'll do, we've got to put some perspective into it at all times. Most of you guys watching this, the kind of sizes we're talking, is just not going to be something that's going to be happening anyway. I'm talking your 80s and beyond. And even more getting onto your 90s and beyond, because the kind of 70s, 80s with male fish now is so easily done with these huge bodies, and even getting into the 90s now becoming even more common. But like I say, as a percentage wise, more do it. But the reality is the amount of fish that do it with quality anyway in the whole koi world is so few, and it's why they cost so much money. That is a reality. But yeah, why the push is, I just think it becomes a thing. Everyone passes it all around. Should buy female, should buy female. Reality is, for most ponds, they're actually harder to look after. Big, mature female fish can be very problematic, especially with the eggs. And yeah, I just think overall the pure male route, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a mixed pond either. But if you are looking to build a collection, focusing on males from the right lineages with the right body setups, you're going to build a far better collection still now as things are than you will trying to buy female, where you're going to basically get 2/3 less of a fish than you would. And it just means making different compromises. You're not going to buy that quality of Dainichi fish I've got swimming around in my male pond. You're not going to be buying very few people are going to be buying female. Buying them males at that money is tough enough. You get to females, you just tens of thousands of pounds. And so in order to get a fish on the same price that those males would be, you'd be having to make compromises to have females, so going to a different breeder and potentially having a little bit more of an inferior lineage. To me, just doesn't make sense. Focus on the qualities first and what you're actually getting. So like I say, in most cases, I do believe it's the better way for people to go. Let's have a look where we're at. Darren, on Koi Talk, we're actually coming to a conclusion with some stuff on that, buddy, which I'm not going to get into tonight, but you are going to see some stuff happening and updates on that very, very quickly, and actually some really positive stuff that I think everybody's going to be super, super pleased with. Took some sorting a lot of the problems and issues and bits and bobs, but there is a lot of progress and work being done all the time. And it's quite Puddle. Good evening, mate. Evening from Thailand again. Fantastic. My dad's actually got some goldfish coming over from Thailand as we speak. He might be on his way back with them already. Craig, your homemade trickle towers out of stacker boxes have inspired me to start making my own. Any specific tips? No, not really, buddy. I mean, they're not really pushed for flow rate too much. No, it just works. This is it. when you understand filtration concepts, you don't generally have to go out and pay the premiums for ready-made modules. You can get creative and find other ways of doing it, because I mean, if it's stuff that's hidden away or you're not too bothered about how it looks, if you want something a little bit more refined looking because it's on display, fair enough. But when you understand the concepts of how things work, you can almost adapt anything to do it. Yeah, with the stacker boxes, don't get them too big. Is probably what I'd say on that. Mine are filled with pumice stone, and it is useful to put some gridding in the bottom just to stop the media actually sitting in the holes that you'll create underneath it. But they've been fantastic. I really can't say any other. Those systems I've got, I still run so many, and they're absolutely bomb proof. I do use foam in the top. That is my sole mechanical filtration media for them, actually. You haven't necessarily got to use that, and it depends where you pump in the water from, but I pump straight from the bottom drain up over, and foam is the only mechanical media. That is the area they could be improved, don't get me wrong, but as an all-in system, foam is efficient. It's probably too efficient, and obviously it's a bit heavier on the maintenance and messier on the maintenance as well, but it does the job. How do I deal with sinking syndrome in koi? It's a karashi that eats a lot. I'm trying to control the feed into that specific koi, but no success so far. I only have one pond. So being over in Thailand, I'm guessing that that's a very warm pond as well, which would be one of the first things I would say. Salt concentration in there can help. Antibiotics can be something you try, although it doesn't often work, just in case it's any bacterial disease in the swim bladder. But to be honest, it's just a very, very, very tough one to fix. And sometimes putting the fish in a shallower pond can help it, so there's not as much stress on the swim bladder. But depending on how it's gone, and that's the hardest bit to determine, is really going to figure out whether you're going to get on top of that or not. But swim bladder stuff, yeah, it's horrible. When it happens, you just feel sick, because you know genuinely the chances of treating it successfully are just so tough, although that's sad to say. Oh, Richard, here we go. Are you still going ahead with your new ponds at KW? I know you're planning as of August for your start date. If so, you're changing your filter setup for the new ponds. Yeah, so we're getting closer. The only issue is I come up with another idea now. We just don't know where to start first. And there's a lot of other stuff, work stuff, business stuff going on in the background. We will hopefully get there, be making a start on something this month. Let's wait and see, Richard. But regards filter setups, I think the only part I'm really toying with in all this is the mechanical stage of it, with the new ponds for the greenhouses. And that's basically torn between sieves, or whether I go even more basic than that, to be honest with you. I think it being any more than that is out of the question. I'm just not interested in adding drums to all them and going to all the costs of it. I don't see the benefits. All the times when I'm thinking about this and you think, yeah, you know, the drum, but I have to bring myself back to the performance of the 1,200-gallon ponds I've got, which are still just pumping out remarkable results on fish. The NND Shiro Sori that I selected against Fujo, the Tatigoi ones, I was having a check on them. You know, there's 50 pieces in one of them 1,200-gallon ponds. They've been there from day one of arriving. They're now up to 40 cm in there already, and with remarkable body. And you can't forget that that's a single bottom drain to a brush chamber and a fluid bed. So it's as much as and then I go to ponds right now. I've got a pond that is absolutely falling apart in regards to performance, for the simple fact the drum filter motor is prattling around. There's just issues with the spray bar, and yeah, that pond's just getting pummeled with fresh water. The filter will be shot. It's just a mess, and I think I've not got that. I've got ultimate stability with those other ones. Those drum filter ponds in that greenhouse are doing great, but are they doing any better in reality than the 1,200-gallon ones, given that they're 3 times the water volume? You know, just so much to consider. And for me, when I look at a drum, all I see there is that we're removing waste from the water body on a regular basis. Now, a sieve is doing that, albeit not down to the same micron level. But what I'm also mindful of, a lot of them lower micron particles are being removed by the biological filter system when I've got a fluid bed running anyway. So regards that heavy stuff that's going to cause problems I want out of the water, a sieve's going to do exactly the same thing for an absolute snip of the cost. There's no electronics, no parts that can really go wrong or fail. And that's where I'm at in all this, because in wanting that stability, it's where it's at for me. So I'm pretty much set, I think, on the sieve being the main core of the mechanical side of it. And there will be a fluid bed and there will be showers. So it's pretty much it that there for them. The bit that skewed all this is we're looking at putting a new TOSI facility in for managing some of the general stock items for the wholesale side of stuff. So yeah, we'll get there with it, mate. But Richard, there's honestly just so much going on at all times. Andrew, I have an Issa TOSI show that's lost all its Benny. Wow, Sumi is currently underlying. Do you think the Benny will return? No, Andrew, I doubt it very much. Benny is one of them colours, especially in Go Sankey. When it's gone, the likelihood, I've never seen it return, to be honest. So I think that one's shot. And if you don't think it's going to make a particularly nice Shirut Sori, I'd probably get it moved on and yeah, stop feeding it expensive fish food, mate. That's generally my mentality with that. And it's also just resource it's taking up. Unfortunately, it can happen. It does happen. You're going to see this actually on, I think we should have a video dropping on the sacko fish, this year's sacko TOSI I bought from the auction this Sunday. Took a while because that got mixed up in some big grand ideas that I had, but I've had Aaron separating it out now because I'm getting ready to do the first major selection on that pond since they've been moved. And I've got quite a lot of fish in there that's lost their Benny. It doesn't matter how expensive they are as TOSI and how promising they looked, and a lot of them did. As soon as you hit them with that intense growth with TOSI, it's amazing how many can go wrong. It's not a huge percentage out of the quantity that there was, but it's just to reinforce it can happen at all kind of levels. Stuart, good evening. I have a Deutsch Sankey and the Benny on the head is receding a lot. You can see a raised line. Is this normal? Yeah, that actually might just link back to Andrew's point there. It might actually be that it's receding and it's colour loss, unfortunately. And again, it happens. Deutsch fish are particularly hard because you don't generally get a read on the colour. There's no sachet in the skin that can help to kind of show how stable the colour might actually be. So yeah, it's a tough one. But and this time of year, as you're hitting these higher temperatures as well, and the growth really kicks up, is when you can tend to see it the most. Abby, the two champions of Wolfing Saki growth, more froth than an English pie. Yeah, that was fantastic. I heard there from Abby that a couple of fish that made their way from Koi Wholesale had great success at the Scottish Koi show, which is very nice to hear. Gray, how you doing? Hello, Ricky. I've been feeding Saki Akari in my research. I do see Saki Akari R. Do you know much about this? I'm thinking about importing some to try. Thank you for all the videos. So much info every week. That's my pleasure. Yeah, the R is basically the one that's been developed for recovery. So it's ingredients in there that help recovery after high levels of stress. Not something you need to be using all the time whatsoever. I don't see any benefit to that for the extra cost. But say you've just brought fish back from a koi show, importing after a shipment. I've not got around to trying it yet. I do, just because of how all those diets have impressed me, believe there will be something in it and there will be some difference. I just don't see the need to be feeding that all the time. Keep it there for when you need it. And I'm guessing as a result of that, the benefits will probably be better. But yeah, anybody out there, feel free to let me know if you have used it and noticed any real difference. Hi, Ricky. I'm really interested in this new Shunku variety you're doing at the minute. Where and when will any more of the Makashi Golden Corn style ones be available from? Yeah, we did sell a few at our open day event. I think some went to Sunnybank Koi. I can't remember where the other bowl went to. And yeah, Chris at JPN has had some. I'm not sure if he's got any more left. I'm getting close with the next pond to probably releasing a few more, because since I did that selection, the growth on them has been absolutely wild. And it's looking a bit wall to wall at the minute. And yeah, feed increases are just becoming more and more. So it'll only be a matter of time, but they're going to be bigger size ones. I keep forgetting this, actually got a new batch of TOSI that are in quarantine and going to be out in the next couple of weeks as well. So yeah, probably stay tuned. We'll try and get some news out somewhere on where they're heading so people can track them down and locate them. But I've been having some great fun with them so far. I love playing around with this stuff. But body wise, my God, they're looking insane. They really are looking the business. Is it good to supplement feed koi with lettuce or watermelon? That just comes down to you as individuals. I get for a lot of you guys, these are pets, and that can be nice, a nice process to go through to get them hand feeding or whatever it is. If you're feeding a balanced diet, I see absolutely no need to be supplementing it with everything. If a food's lacking, then yeah, by all means. But no, I don't see any benefit. But if it's something you want to do for the enjoyment of your hobby, then absolutely go ahead. There's no real downside to it either. In 43 years, I've lost some lovely mature females due to egg problems. Female can be tamer, but I've had some lovely nurtured males, and they've been very handsome fish. Nothing wrong with males. There we go, Nick. Very, very well said. Tom again. Hi again. I recently purchased a golden corn off JPM page to go in my main pond. Is the progression of the Kanoko dictated by growth, or will this naturally come anyway without it being pushed? Yeah, you're not really going to push the development of the Kanoko. From using colour food, I've not seen it really progress it. Time is going to be the friend there, and genetics are going to dictate. The Kanoko is not guaranteed. It is quite a random trait. But yeah, ultimately, you're going to be time is the friend I've seen with all of them along. You just you get it coming. You might find that as things cool off and you move into the kind of autumn period and then winter, you get a little bit more development from it. But just be patient. It's the same with Benny on Asagi. You can't really push that too much either. It just needs time. And patience. Patience is one that a lot of people do lack in this job, and it really is so essential, especially in koi development. Hi, Ricky. I've been feeding grow food for the first time and seeing great results. When should I switch back to all season? Yeah, I mean, a grow food generally dictated by temperature. A lot of them you can feed over 18. My preference would be more a stable 20 and above. But yeah, so when you start dropping south of that, really you want to look to change it, and not just if you're finding it's dipping down and up, you want to be a stable low end of 20, and then whatever daytime increases you get from that, really. So yeah, look to change at that point. Here we go. Carp Lester, best fluke koi medication. Tried Fluchem, didn't sort them, so going Learnex Pro next. Did PP dip first, and the 100% day one, then 50% day 2 and 3. Yeah, I've just seen so much of this still out there. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm still on kind of praziquantel based stuff. I'm going to get back to using flubendazole at some point, I do believe, mixed up. But I think a lot of this, again, temperature playing its part, water, which I don't truly know how they mix up. Dosage might be the thing you need to look at, to be honest with you, at this point, to see if you need to be just hitting them that bit harder to get rid of it. But if they are reoccurring, potentially looking at events as to why the flukes keep reoccurring. If you are actually managing to clear them at any point, but they're coming back, there might be something there deeper in the system or in the water, or a fish that's highly sensitive that is becoming vulnerable and stressing a lot and then producing a lot more of that parasite in the first place. It's not always necessarily what you see in front of you, but it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. Thanks, Ricky. She's a white Sakai mango bloodline. It's a shame that she's got swimming bladder. Yeah, it is indeed. And they are a really rare beast. So very sorry to hear it. Colin, in with the insults. Mr. Stoddart, have you got Adidas sponsorship, or have you had a hat on today as your forehead Adidas stripes? It's just outrageous, mate. Honestly, I'm so deeply insulted by that comment. It's just absolutely shocking. Yeah, I'm going to have to get you back there, mate, at some point. I need some, I'm going to have to do a bit of research and come up with some stuff ready and on for you next week there, I think. Hey Ricky, great to see you. Number 99. I know you've covered this before, but quickly, just what temp would you feed sacko? He balanced down to unheated outdoor with Tosai in this side. Yeah, I'm good down to about 12 degrees with that one, mate. So, yeah, it's just your feeding levels are going to be so minimal at that kind of temperature anyway. Not a problem whatsoever for me because it's a bit lower fat anyway. So, fantastic. Terry, my little show that came from you, got first in size and class at the Crouch Valley Koi Show. Oh, that's absolutely amazing, mate. Glad to hear it. I think that was your first show as well, weren't it? So congratulations on that one, buddy. Nice to know that our fish are out there doing the business. Rob, hey Ricky, any thought on late night feeding? Not a problem if you want to do it. I do like to leave time overnight for everything to recover. That's why I stop at 10 p.m., which we are pretty much dark now at 10 again. So not a problem for me. The fish are used to it, but I do like that period overnight where they are resting. That's obviously giving them chance to properly rest when they're not being disturbed by a feeder, and also let the system completely recover by the following morning when they're on them heavy feed runs. So yeah, I personally won't be taking it too far into the evening. They do want that resting period. Hi Ricky, we are unheated and this year lost a couple of fish due to cost year. Is there anything we can do to reduce the risk next spring? I think, unfortunately, you probably know my answer to this. Get some heating. I've had some fantastic, and I appreciate this, guys. A lot of you reaching out. Richard as well, who was in, sending me some information over earlier on the running costs of the heat pumps that you guys have got going on. Seems an absolute no-brainer to me if you can afford to get one on your pond, because trust me, having that temperature control is going to enhance your hobby so much and take away so much stress from it all. I cannot say it enough. I feel like this is going to have to be, when I've collated some of this information a little bit more, it's probably going to have to be a special edition of Question Time just talking about that, because I see from where everything's heading, to get maximum enjoyment and minimum stress, it's probably going to be the best thing to invest in. And it truly doesn't look like this time of year it's costing all that much, not versus what you'll be paying out in medication, ongoing medications or fish losses and all this stuff. When you add all that cost up, it makes those ongoing costs of running something like that very, very insignificant. So, yes, there we go. What else we got here? My little show that came from you on size 1 and first in class. Fantastic. Good win. Right. I'm going to answer this last question, and then our guest is finally here, guys. Absolutely long time no see for a lot of you. He must have managed to lock his kids away somewhere as well, to be fair. Let's get that away, on it. Right, Ash. Evening, Ricky. I was wondering if you could touch a bit on bonsai koi, do's and don'ts, temps, foods, amounts, etc. Ash, I think you've joined in a bit late, buddy. At the end of this, rewatch it, and you're going to get all the information you need there at the beginning on that one, mate. It's been a hot topic this morning. Terry, there you go. Stress lines. That's exactly what it is. I'm also going to blame my dad for it. Bit genetic. And our guest being in my fish houses constantly, raiding them. So without further ado, let me get Mr. Wall back on. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Long time no see, mate.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. This picture was dreadful, isn't it?
It's all right. Everyone's getting personal. I'll say everyone. Just the regular getting a bit personal about me stress lines.
Oh, yeah, they are sort of like in a flying V sort of formation, aren't they, on the old forehead?
It's that new manager I've got.
Yeah. The Irish will do that, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm guessing you've been telling everyone about my sports day success. No? Oh, right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's what you were getting me on for.
Right. Let me just before Chris goes on to tell you about this story, folks. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to Donald Trump this and just declare fake news, like AI generated content when I saw the picture. But yeah, go on, Chris.
Oh no, well, I thought that's what you brought me on for, but yeah, just Yeah, had a nice little win. I know the Olympics has been going on, so yeah, I've had my own Olympics going on, and yeah, took first place in the dad's race at my 2-year-old daughter's nursery uh, sports day. So yeah, pretty happy with that, mate.
He did send me a picture because I did declare fake news and then I did declare AI generated. So
Yeah, yeah. For me, fortunately, knowing how illiterate I am with computers, yeah, I think it's got some credibility, that one. So yeah.
quality. So I suppose before we get into it, mate, I mean, finally we can put to bed. I've not actually heard many stories, but I guess they'd have been out there that we might have fell out or something along them lines, and the usual bullshit and whispers and waffles that go on. But never the case, pal. What have you been up to after you decided to abandon me?
Sort of ducking and diving, mate. Really. No, so yeah, just felt like, known you a long time, mate. Trips to Japan, the koi industry in general, we live it, breathe it, etc. My little boy's just coming in the room now. Ted,
I love it when I'm at home and my kids do that.
Teddy, bedtime, please. Teddy.
I'll make you blush, Chris.
Yeah.
Forgot to put the bolt on the cage, mate.
Yeah, where was I? And yeah, I just think we've got a vision, say we, both of us in general, about how things should be done, how fish should be kept, displayed, the upkeep. Started with an idea and sort of grown arms and legs. Really, I think the exposure that the channel previously and articles and content and whatnot has just given us, given me a good springboard to get going. Probably, I think you said it to me many a time, my own problems myself, not what I knew or what I could achieve.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a learning curve for me. Learned that accountants don't like me very much because I make their life difficult. But yeah,
it is nice to see, mate, because ever since I've known you, I've felt you've been getting in your own way. So I'm very happy to take full credit for you growing wings and flying. Really am.
We just have like a bit of a light bulb moment. You kind of go, you're a bit different because I was a bit institutionalized to always making money for people that had all the gear and no idea. You excluding. And yeah, I just was at a crossroads, and yeah, it just seemed right, and really happy with the way we can do things. No doubt, I can improve things as I move along, but I think as a starting point, the level of quality on display.
So what you have failed to do, Chris, a lesson for you, you've failed to give anybody watching any idea about the name of your company, really what it is you're offering. Not that it's here for that, but I think you might as well take your 5 minutes, seeing as though you've got.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah,
to my consultancy later on, pal.
This is probably where I let myself down a little bit.
Well said, Alan. Just to
Alan,
more.
Ouch.
And there we go. Well said, folks. Go on, Chris, carry on.
So yeah, sorry, I work on the assumption that everyone knows what I'm doing, which is pretty stupid of me, really, because it's a big world out there. But yeah, the company is Japan Koi Co. You might have seen it on Facebook. It's probably many of you. JPN, yeah. And yeah, we're a new dealership offering high quality hand selected koi and reasonably priced product range that I sort of use and have used for years. Currently, the concept is WhatsApp group. That's how it started. All sort of empire starts somewhere, and that's how my little world has started. And yeah, no doubt you'll stick the link up for me somewhere.
Yeah, because I am that well prepared, aren't I? Dear me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then we've got plans moving forward. I mean, I'm not sort of looking to take over the world or anything by no means, but I certainly want to elevate and make everything as attainable as possible. Sometimes the elitist sort of attitude towards the koi industry winds me up a little bit. You know, I was, you know, you. As you know, mate, it's a business at the end of the day, and you got to wear different hats at different times. But you know, I was sort of brought up to treat the, you know, the janitor the same way I would do a CEO. So that's the way I look at things. I've helped so many people in this short amount of time. Hopefully, some people will say, "Yeah, you have," you know, and it's not okay. Yeah, there is a business at the core of it, but where I can help people, I like to think I do sort of try and go above and beyond, and success will come hopefully as a result of that. So yeah, we're still in our infancies. Ray, thanks very much, Ray. So yeah, hopefully the future's bright, and well, that was a problem beforehand,
Richard.
So yeah, I mean, that's where we're at currently.
No, I like it, mate. Obviously, it's nice that we're still been able to work together. You know, but you've got your own freedom with it, which is cool. But I like what it's become. You know, I think the WhatsApp group community you've set up's been phenomenal. Been very active in there myself because I just like the whole vibe, the people, and been in where I can. But I think it's important for people to give back a bit. You know, dealers to give back, and help them communities where possible.
Well, I think it's quite easy to fall into the trap of sort of going, if it's not paying me, I ain't doing it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I was probably a bit guilty of that previously, of going, you know, well, but it is part of, if the industry and the hobby is thriving, then it's good for everyone, full stop. That means people are enjoying the hobby, they're getting out of it what they want to get out of it. I was just getting really depressed with people that were sort of going, I can't, but you know, you're getting more stress out of, and I could just never really fathom it, because you know, I used to go, like, you know what it's like when you walk in Japan, you've got a skip in you every time you see fish, it's just like, wow, I'm buzzing. Like, that's what it should be about. Like, I'm not saying every morning you wake up and you're on cloud 9, but you should get more out of it than it takes. You. And I think that people are finally starting to realise it doesn't need to be as stressful and as sort of convoluted and complicated as it may seem.
It's a hobby. It needs to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
and it really can be. I imagine, I just look at times and think, if I had the stress that I see some unfortunate individuals having with one pond multiplied by 60, I'd be dead already.
And it's also that notion that, I don't know, sometimes I just think the koi industry is a bit like, you know, the FA. It's an old boys club. Everything gets done. This is how it's done. This is how it's always been done. And this is how it should get done forever and a day. And I probably am growing in confidence a little bit more, because the more the business is growing, the more I am implementing my sort of techniques on other people's ponds. You know what I mean? You're almost sort of reaching into people's gardens a little bit more, with the attitude and the sort of assistance. And it's every day, mate. It's nice. It's hard. Like, you're on the group, you know, it goes late on into the night. It starts off early in the morning. You got lads that are doing night shifts that are asleep during the day, and they can only message, like, but it's good and it's pretty active, and I like to think that everyone gets a lot out of it. It's a pretty good knowledge on there and very helpful.
Absolutely. Guy, I will apologise to anybody watching this for not having the links to hand, but you look it up on Facebook, I'm sure you'll track back to it.
I might have
a sales pitch.
Yeah. I thought might be a bit more rehearsed than that, but yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. So, mate, Well, I've got a few more questions to sort of work through. Craig, very kind of you to say there, mate.
Cheers, Craig. Much appreciated, mate.
Feedback. And Richard, great guy. We do like having a laugh with Richard. So, this whole debate around what is it, cream and jam on scones and which way they go around. Is it scones? Is it scones? I mean, I don't know if I dare open that bag of worms right now.
I think it's a scone, but
Just to give you an insight into the type of conversation that does go on in the JPN group, there is a little bit of it.
Yeah, it gets a little bit political with jam and scones. And,
I love it. So, yes, NND Mud Pond event time. So part of Chris's new job role, and this has happened to me, obviously Chris spent a lot of time learning how I do things, and every week Chris comes up to my place looking for some new fish, does my fucking head in for a couple of hours. I have to say no to him a lot. He does some puppy dog eyes and often gets what he wants because it's just easier than watching a grown man cry.
I don't know, I think you do more of the crying, mate, than me.
And it's fair enough. The NND Mud Pond has now been this phenomenal event for the past 3 years. I think I've done it. Is it?
Yeah.
Initially over a big group. Last year, from Prestige took it, and this year, as soon as Mr. Wall caught wind, he's bagged it for JPN. So tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping a video on the channel explaining actually all the ins and outs of it. I think the big bit here for me is that I've massively upped the level on this year, which meant the price points crept up a little bit. But I think a great thing I've liked that Chris has done is putting some amazing options and payment options out for people in order for those aspiring to have these better fishing experiences to make it really accessible. And I think if I'm right, Chris, that's something you're going to be actually putting through yourself this time.
Yeah. So part of the remit was to try and make, let's not get away from ourselves. There are costs involved with high-end fish. So much so that it probably is beyond people's reach. I want to try and break down that barrier a little bit, by offering value where I can. And yeah, I'm in a position this time round to spread payments. So you'll get all the details. I don't want to take up too much time and do direct sales stuff on here. But yeah, you will get all the full details on the group being released this weekend.
This Sunday, I think, mate, isn't it?
So, yeah, Sunday.
There we go. Put that in your diary for sure. If you're not in the group and you can't find the link, reach out. We'll get you somewhere for that. But yeah, amazing opportunity. The fish always excel, and then amazing job. It's just been a great experience all around for the past 3 years, and just getting better and better every year now as well.
So I feel like I did feel like I'm cheating a little bit because having seen and been to the farm and the care. I think we mentioned it a few times on previous podcasts that we've done. Mud ponds. There's a mud pond, and then there's a mud pond. You know what I mean, right? And the results that come from it, and the care that goes into it. Makoto, KB, Fujio, they're up there, aren't they, in terms of the care and the dedication that they've got. And I know that people that are spending their hard money, including me, are going to get a fabulous result at the end of it. Fish are going to be in great condition, no doubt. And yeah, the level, I think Matt's results last year were phenomenal.
They were.
Really were. But yeah, knowing how a lot of these fish develop at the farm, this year is pretty.
It's big and all the rest. What I might do, because I forgot, in next room in my office, I've got the certificates where I might be able to get a bit of a preview on. Bodging my way through it. So I'm going to leave you with this question when I can find it again, Chris. And I'm just going to vanish a minute. There you go, mate. You know how it all works. I'll be back in a second.
Is it common for my Sankey to lose some of its sumi spots? Will they come back? My water is about 78, 80 degrees. I'm new school, so 78, 80 degrees. I'm guessing that's quite warm. I'm degrees C, but yeah, it is quite common. Certainly in warmer water and with light and UV exposure for sumi to just skin a little bit. Out of all the colours, sumi is the one that I stress about least. It's deeply ingrained in fish, and generally speaking, it can ebb and flow. It might not be purely based around water temperature. Can be an amount, a combination of factors. But yeah, I wouldn't stress too much long term. Often is the case. Sumi will repair. There are exceptions when it goes and I can't even explain it. But yeah, generally speaking, sumi can ebb and flow, and it's the one colour that I stress about the least.
There we go. Good fun, sumi.
Yeah.
Really is. Right, I have got them. Let me see how this is going to work with the camera in front of me, and the light. There we go. That's not too bad.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you're planning on hiding, Chris, but I'm just going to expose you here, mate. There we go, folks. They're looking good, and a nice mix of all three Go Sankey as well. And this is this year. I was in Japan to hand select the whole lot. Managed to lean on Fujio quite a bit and put some pressure on. That one's a bit of a beast. Skin's amazing on it.
Yeah.
So they've also started off quite a bigger size than the other years.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm anticipating them being a solid 50 to 55 centimetre.
Yeah, you beat me to that as well. So for what I'm sort of doing, yeah, I just
kind of noises live, mate.
I just yeah, they're all banging, mate. To be fair, they really are.
They are.
They're not.
I come away from that like, yeah, job well done. That.
Yeah. I will. I hate to do it, but I'll give you a pat on the back for that one. So yeah, it probably was. You never need to sort of buy a mud pond full of fish, do you? But this just seemed like something to do.
I wonder where you've got that kind of mentality from, mate.
Yeah, hopefully not too much of it rubs off.
No. Temper it if you can.
But yeah, just across the board. I mean, sometimes when you sort of
look amazing,
buy a bunch of fish and you kind of go, but across the board, there's not many fish in here that I can differentiate quality wise.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. Amazing.
I know it's in my interest to say they're all class, but they really are. It didn't, given what I know comes out of the farm, how the fish develop, and the sort of price points that you're looking for, good quality Nisai, let's be honest with you. Including grow on feed. Yeah.
And Fujo and NND really are still backing this a lot, which I love that the guys do this. Obviously they see the content, they watch it, they see what the fish are getting sold for. They know we're being very keen with it all as well. And he backs it by the price he puts on the fish that are picked. And he genuinely does, because there's fish outside. After I'd done my event picking, fish floating around the same tanks that he didn't put in at the time. And yeah, I mean, he wanted to bleed me for them.
Yeah. No, I think all round.
Now back to it hard.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll spank you for something ridiculous, but yeah. But that's another story. But yeah, I just think all round as a package, what's going to be achieved, how I'm going to release them, how they can be paid for. I hate talking about that side of things, but it is a reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think given the quality and what's on offer, it's not. Yeah.
And what better than saying you've got a fish growing in the mountains of Yamogihira
Well, that's the dream, isn't it? You know, how many people? That's the romance side of things that sort of most hobbyists always say to me, oh, I'd love to have a fish growing in the mud ponds in Japan. It is the romance, the dream.
Yeah.
If you're a keen hobbyist, it's got to be done. It's got to be done. Like this, I know, like we can't put any guarantees on it about like marrying up some footage when we're there, but I know regardless, Fujio is going to do his bit with footage, and yeah, it's it's going to be the next best thing to you guys being around the mud ponds. So yeah.
Cool. So on that note, I've got one last question here. I saw from up north Koi Pond. Hi Ricky, have you used much of the Kari Pure White, and if so, how long did it take to see any difference? Yes, usually enough to know you'll see some difference within 2 weeks. Within a month, you'll see a big difference. Within 6 weeks, it'll be phenomenal. Pretty much assure you that. Even in cases where it's more of a thing like the yellowing from a male fish, it will still improve it, although it might not completely get rid of it. It is a phenomenal product, really is. Yeah,
the results were pretty mad. I'm a bit skeptical at the best of times, but yeah, you got to see it, haven't you? And yeah, it's not the type of money you want to muck about with, is it? If the results aren't going to be that good.
No, not whatsoever, mate. So, yes, there we go. Great fish. Good luck with it. Koi keeper's dream. Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, Ian. Chris, I suppose we should make some bit of effort to get you back on and do a bit of the heavy work for people, mate, as well. If you can manage to lock the kids in that cage a little bit more often.
Well, yeah.
Fever, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I need a cage, mate. Like she's like the youngest one. She's like a velociraptor. You know, quite smart and vicious.
Magic. So there we go, folks. Another episode. So next week, episode 100. Gonna have to get some lined up.
Wow.
Yeah, can you believe that, mate? From when I sat in that office, and let's face it, I said, Chris, I'm going to do YouTube. He sort of looked at me. Just to go, what the fuck?
And, it'll never last. Nah.
Here we are. So
100, Jesus, fair play.
Yeah, madness. So look out on the channel tomorrow. That video dropping. There will be all the links and stuff you need on that video for sure. Other than that, folks, I will see you all next week. In fact, before I go, let's make that a bit easier. I can do this bit actually. I can put the QR code on. There you go, to the Koi Wholesale WhatsApp, because I will be dropping information for all this on there as well. So if you're not in that group already, scan that code, get joined up, and you will be able to get all of that information in there as well. So yeah, thanks a lot, folks. Cheers, Chris, and I'll see you all next week.
See you guys.